Welcome to Portland Industry Insider, our monthly sit-down with a member of the acting and modeling community here in the Pacific Northwest. This episode is being filmed at the beautiful facility that is home to the Studio Northwest and Acting for Kids and Teens. So I want to say thank you to Katie O'Grady and Jessica Moore and Haley and the whole team here who have invited us into their space and offered us such nice hospitality. There's a link in the description below the video for you to check them out. Come out and learn how to act and hang out in this beautiful space at the same time. So, our guest for this episode is an up-and-coming young filmmaker. She is a native of Oregon. She produced her first short film called Julia, which was released last fall to some critical acclaim. She is working on her next short film called Stretch, which is going to shoot here in, I guess, a few weeks. And we're going to find out all about it, what it's like to be a new filmmaker, the challenges, the thrills, the spills, and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to say hi to Emma Duvall.
Thanks.
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. It's nice to have you here.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you, for your successes.
Oh, thank you.
And all that. So. Grew up in Eugene, went to school in Portland. How long you been? Well, let's start with the acting component because you're an actor as well.
Yeah.
So let's start with that component and how you started and all that kind of business.
I actually started at the Studio Northwest, which is funny. Not this space, an old space, but I started out taking classes there and kind of just slowly got into it, getting my first agent and then just starting to audition. And it really just picked up from there. I think if you start taking classes in a place like Portland, it's pretty easy to ease your way into it, of like eventually getting an agent and auditioning. You know, it's a small town with just a few casting directors, so it felt very approachable, I guess.
Right. And then from a filmmaking standpoint, at one point did you think, I'd kind of like to start doing that as well? Was that early on or as you got into the process?
Definitely not early on. I think what happened is that through my work as an actor, meeting other just local filmmakers and working on their short films, that's what kind of put the seed in my head of maybe I could do this too, because a lot of my friends were making their own films. And so it was a really easy introduction for me, and I was really lucky in that sense that I had people who were doing lower budget indie short films because I just had that guidance through the whole process. So it was just from seeing other people do it and be like, why can't I?
Yeah, there you go. What was it? Did you think of yourself as a writer? Because I know we'll talk a little bit about Julia and about your, what you've done, which you co-wrote. And I guess at this point I'd mentioned that I know you through my son Skylar, who Skylar co-wrote Julia and produced it, and then co-wrote Stretch and is going to be directing.
Yeah, we're going to be co-directing that one. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And I definitely never thought of myself as a writer, and I think that's another reason why I never thought about getting into filmmaking, because I was like, I don't know what I would write. But then it was during lockdown where we just had so much extra time, and Skylar and I kind of just came to this place where we were like, why don't we just try writing a short film? Because I'd always wanted to make a film about my mom's childhood, because she grew up in an orphanage in South Korea. But in my head, that had always been a feature. But we were like, it doesn't have to be a feature. Why don't we start off with a short film? And because we co-wrote it, it was really nice to have someone who had already had practice writing short films and just film in general. And that was an interesting experience because we were more taking an actual thing that happened and being like, how can we modify this into a short film and into a storyline that is really comprehensive and easy to follow, because everything was true, but it was laid out in a timeline in real life that wouldn't translate to film easily.
Gotcha, okay.
Like it wouldn't have been as interesting to follow because it was spread out over a few days and we just needed to condense it. And also working around it being a true story, we didn't really have as much creative freedom, but that was kind of nice with me not being as confident as a writer and easing myself into it, because we were just trying to translate a story that had actually happened. But now going into Stretch, it's very exciting because we have total creative freedom and we were able to just go all out and not have any limits for ourselves. And so this next one's definitely going to be a lot more fun. It's also a lot longer, so
Right.
there was a lot more went into the writing.
So it sounds like for people who are interested in doing what you're doing, that having knowing your limitations in terms of how much material you can create, i.e., it's not possible to do a feature film today. At this point in my career, I am not going to do a 2-hour feature. That limitation, as well as the true story element of it, really gave you a kind of a good box to work in.
Yeah, it did. And it was interesting because you would maybe get these creative urges, but you couldn't lean on them or follow them because you had to stay true to the story that you're telling. So it was an interesting experience as a first film. I think it worked out really well for me because, it was a short story. It was, a 3-day shoot. It ended up being a really good first film to make because of all that structure. But now, after having experienced that, I'm definitely ready to get into something a little bit more creative and less constrained, I think.
What would you say was the most challenging part of making Julia?
Definitely the setting and time. I mean, with it being set in South Korea and in 1970 and we're in Oregon, it was really, really hard. We were sweating it out with the locations. I think we found both of our locations like a week before the shoot, maybe even less than that. Because just nothing could fit. It wasn't even like we needed somewhere that looked like South Korea. We just needed an ambiguous looking location that just, isn't really stamped heavily with anything, and we can just have that suspension of disbelief for a bit. So I think just the period aspect of it and the setting was definitely the toughest part. You
met with some very nice commentary, critical acclaim through that, ended up at a few film festivals. So, toot your own horn a little bit there. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so we premiered at Ben Film, which was really incredible. I feel like it's really, not being in the film world, I was like, I don't know what to even strive for as far as festivals go, because it was so inexperienced, but it was really amazing to go to Ben because the year before had just become an Oscar qualifying festival, and so just the level of filmmaking there was really incredible. And then at Ben Film, the literary editor for RogerEbert.com was there, and one of our producers was able to pass along our film to him, and he mentioned us in a review, which was really nice. And then we later went to Cinema Femme Short Film Festival in Chicago, and Roger Ebert reviewed all the films going to that festival too. So we got another mention there, which was really fun. We really got a lot of community support, even just through grants. Like I got the Tell Your Story grant through Oregon Made Creative Foundation and Oregon Film and the Regional Arts and Culture Council, and then another grant through Ben Film for post-production. And I just feel very lucky because I've always said I don't really think that it had to do with as much as me as the filmmaker as much as the story that I was telling, because my mom just had such an incredible life, and this experience is just so unique, and I feel like not a lot of stories have been told from that perspective. So everyone was just so willing to hop on board and support the film, which was really nice. I feel like I didn't have to do the heavy lifting because the story that we were telling was so incredible that everyone wanted to help.
Right. The story carried its own weight in that. Yeah. You had some wonderful young actors in Julia.
Yes.
Before we move into the next thing, where can people see it?
So Julia we were finishing out our festival run. It will be online probably, maybe even by the time this is up. I'd say by the fall of 2023 this year, it should be online and available to watch, whether that's on probably Vimeo.
Probably Vimeo. Okay, cool. Some wonderful young actors in that filmed Julia,
Yeah.
including one of my favorites, Kate Lee.
Yes,
Hi, Kate.
love
We wish
Kate
you were
Lee.
here today. we tried our hardest to have Kate be part of this, but we just could not make it happen. And Kate is going to be
The lead in
the
Stretch.
lead in
yeah.
Stretch. So tell me about your experience with her, because I think this is important. This is an important thing. I tell people about this. I say,
Yeah.
you know, I met Kate taking her pictures,
Yeah.
doing headshots. And then we were chatting about your casting for Julia, and I was like, oh, Kate Lee, you
Yeah.
gotta meet this kid because she's awesome.
Yeah.
And then things have really snowballed for her. She's done a lot of other stuff in addition
Yeah.
to you too. So
Yeah.
tell me about how when did you go, oh, I want to do this
Yeah.
with her or whatever the case.
Yeah. Oh, I love Kate. I mean, ever since we saw her initially audition for Julia, we were like, she is just so perfect and amazing on her own. And in Julia, she actually had the smallest speaking part of any of our characters, actually, and as far as the kids went. And that worked out. You know, casting is so complicated because it's not about who is the best actor or whatever, it's just who is the right fit. And so many things go into that, whether it's height and age, you know, and Kate, where she best fit in Julia happened to just be that smaller role, but she was so incredible and so incredible on set. I remember while we were filming, Kate had her just like couple lines, and our director of photography, Matthew Hayes, afterwards was like, oh, she's really good, you know? And just with that really small moment, she made such a big impact and was so easy to work with on set. And so actually a little bit after Julia even, I was working on a Mazda ad.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and they were doing another cut of it where it showed the younger version of me, and the director just called me up when I was like on my way to the shoot and was like, hey, do you know anyone who could like play the younger version of you? Do you know any kids? And I was like, I actually do, because Kate is also half Korean, and so she was available. It was really cool because I mean, she just kind of fell into that National Mazda spot, which was really fun, and we got to film together for that. We were just like running around in a beautiful national forest up in Washington, and so we always knew that working with Kate was so easy and so much fun. And going into this next script, we also knew she was a really incredible dancer, and we were like, why don't we just capitalize on that, on her actual real talent that she has to offer? And you know, it made our lives easier because we got to just write around someone who we already knew would give a really incredible performance, is also a fantastic dancer, which is just like going to be fun for the audience to watch because she's a really amazing performer. And I just feel lucky that we have Kate because, like I said, it makes our jobs easier.
Right, right. Surround yourself with good people and things fall together.
Yeah.
So without tipping too much of the story, because just kind of give us a feel for what Stretch, I mean, you've kind of told us a little, she's a dancer, and Stretch kind of, oh, yeah, that makes sense. You kind of feel it, but what's the hook that you can give me now that's going to make people want to come and see?
Yeah, I would say so. It's about a middle school girl who is Kate, who wants to be the lead in her school show, but she finds out that being the best performer may not be all you need to be cast as the lead. I think that's what I'll say for now. We want an element of surprise in there, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah, well, this is ultimately we make these, we do these segments to help young filmmakers and actors kind of, tap into your experience of what happens, and I can't imagine. I personally, not an actor, but I've been around them for years, and that whole thing about. Oh, but I think my audition was better than somebody. Yeah. But I didn't get it because I didn't fit for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's like I said earlier, with Kate being so incredible, it's like that smaller part just happened to be where she fit into Julia.
It had
nothing to do with her because, I mean, look, we wrote an entire thing around her. And so, it is the hard truth. Sometimes it's not about being the best actor. And. Well,
it seems the the story there is that when she worked with me, she was total a pro when she worked with me, which led me to think of her when we were talking.
Yeah.
Which she came in and took a small role and made it something great, which led her, and that's how the path works for us.
It's true.
For us, I say for actors, but for any creative person, I think that's the way that the path goes.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're easy to work with and people enjoy being around you, you're gonna keep getting opportunities.
Yep.
Is I think what I've experienced and what I've seen all around me.
Yeah. You still have time for a little bit of acting?
Yes, whenever it comes up.
Yeah. So, what's your goal for Stretch? I mean, knowing what you know now based on Julia, what's your goal for Stretch? I mean, besides getting it done and enjoying the process and all that business.
I think, honestly, enjoying the process more and being able to just really enjoy all of it. I think that because Julia was our first film, it sometimes got really overwhelming, and also because I edited it, and that had a lot to do with just not being able to like fully enjoy it and take it in at the end, because I mean, I just become numb to it at that point after editing it. I'm not going to edit Stretch, and I'm just also really excited to make something more joyful. And so I'm hoping that will in turn make the process just a lot more fun. And I just hope that I know that we feel really passionate that we can execute this very clear vision that we have. And I really hope that audiences just enjoy it and have fun watching it and are able to just take in the story, because we're really, really excited for this film. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So hopefully it is.
Cool. Thank you for coming and talking to me.
Course.
We do cross paths from time to time, but I appreciate you coming in and tell me about that, and we'll just bring you back. Once Stretch is done and you're in the process of going down the road, we'll just do this again and find out what's next.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks.